Hey, Doug.
Hey, Megan, how are you?
I'm super. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
So, what have you been up to?
It's just keeping busy. I think that any of us need to be going somewhere, and I'm always trying to learn something that I haven't learned before, and and this time it's just as I said before, we can all graduate from whatever we're learning or wherever we're going to school, but you really never stop learning. And I think life is a learning process, but when you can mix it with other information that really benefits you and basically allows you to be able to do things that you couldn't do before. Like I look at one of the probably the most important classes I ever took in school was accounting, because that is taxation. That is your, IRS report, your, Social Security and all those other things. There's so many valuable things we learn from school. I just think there was more of those categories versus, do I really know, who attacked Hungary in 1300? I don't know. I don't think so. History is important, like a lot of other subjects are, but we're quickly going through, I think a time in our country where you don't have time to waste your time. You need to focus on what is important. How fast can you learn it? How can it improve your life or your family's life? And don't just keep being in a circle and just keep going around and around.
Well, you're so good at that, though. You're like a walking example of learning as you go. You're incredible. And so, yeah, you're incredible. But, I think that the kids of these days, because of social media and news and the way that we've changed our life, I don't think they'll ever forget Ukraine. I don't think they'll ever forget Russia, even if they're not into that kind of stuff. They'll just, because it's on TikTok, because it's on social media, because it's everywhere, they'll never forget it. Even the 20-year-olds.
It's funny. When I grew up, basically my life started in the 50s, but it was mostly in the 60s where I started really realizing what was going on. And we were in a Cold War for almost that whole decade. And it was the US against China and the Russians, USSR. And, it just seems like with all the things that we tried to do and the negotiation and signing all these treaties and all these other wonderful things we're pursuing, we're getting gasoline and oil from people that we used to despise, a few decades ago. Now it seems like we're getting right back to where we were. History has a tendency to repeat itself, and it sure is in this situation. I was watching the television this morning before I went and worked out, and it's just a drumbeat of more and more issues that we don't have in common with Russia or China. And it kind of scares you sometimes, especially when you're younger. Nobody wants to die when they're 8 or 9 years old. And, whether it was, some other things, that the Cold War and, we had a whole battle with Cuba and a whole bunch of things like that. Anyway, it just scares you. And when you get to my age, Megan, you don't worry about anything, because you know what? You're old. You're old, and you're probably
You're
going
not
to be
that old. You just said you worked out this morning. You're not that old.
Well, even if I'm old, I can still want to be in shape. But now this. I mean, like you're the probably best person in the world to ask. Now it's your children, your family, your everybody, all your siblings, and things like that. Your thought process isn't just for about me, myself, and I. Now, it's about, geez, what kind of a opportunity or a life can I leave my wife, my family, or whatever the case might be. And it makes it hard when you just turn on the television and you watch these dynamic events happening right now across the world that could really, bring gloom and doom to a lot of people.
We were talking about it last night, and I said, I'm a big advocate of, I do everything I can possibly do to help everybody. But when it's out of my control, like I can't change Ukraine, and, it's out of my control. The best thing I can do is pray for them and pray for a better situation, because it's what I think is scary more than anything is how one person can really change the dynamics of so many people's lives. And I think that's more than anything what's scary to me. But, Megan Johnson-Zucaro can't change the situation. All I can do is pray for the situation. And so, and that's what I try to teach my kids, is just to, pray for the situation and do the best you can do to help the people around you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't think there's any right or wrong in some of these. But when you're confronted with somebody that, even when I was younger, if there was somebody that wanted to get in a fight with me and they were determined to do it, then it was probably going to happen. And the same thing is true, like in the world events. If somebody ruling a country is in a position where they want to go ahead and fight with another country, I don't really know what you can do to stop it. And, when we were earlier in our lives, it was mostly just a small skirmish or something like that. But with the addition of all the weaponry now that has the capacity, I think, of ending life on Earth, everybody should be concerned. And I am too. I mean, it's not like I don't think about it. I do. And, I hope there's a resolution for it, that there could be a negotiated settlement. And because, life is tough enough without
right?
I hope the planet can exist for another, 50 or 100 years.
I was just gonna say, Doug, we just need like 50 to 75 years and we're good and we'll be in heaven. So we just need 50 to 75 years.
That would be amazing. Other thing though, I'm now that you get older, you're around a lot more older people, and you hear more about what older people concerns them and their pains and things like that, and bruises, and what were minor injuries to us when we were younger are now major tragedies. Things, your functioning of your hips or your arms or your legs, that was no big deal. I mean, that was like, that was a couple of weeks of being sore or something, and then you were back. Well, people, as they get older, I have a tendency to fall and trip more now. I mean, because, my balance isn't as good. I shouldn't be standing on ladders like I am. They say never step on that top ladder. The other day I was on that ladder with one foot reaching up into the attic in my garage. I'm thinking, look, what are you doing? All you need to do is fall, and you're on all these other medications that are going to cause all this bleeding in your body. It would be like an immediate insanity. So, you just got to think now, is this okay, what I'm going to do? Standing on the hood of the car, or, chopping something that you don't normally chop with. You're out there hacking away with bushes and stuff.
Well, the thing about you is that you get up in the morning and start going nonstop. You believe you're like 20 years old. You believe you're like 20 years old.
And I think because some of the friends I know, and you probably do too, that are in the retirement mode, and for whatever reason, the moment they decide that they're going to retire, and this is a mental and a physical decision, you would think, oh my gosh, everything is going to be wonderful. They're going to wake up every day laughing, smiling, playing bingo at lunch, and playing pinochle groups with it at dinner, and they'll just go out, walk every night in the sunset as the sunset goes down. But that isn't the way it is. People just have a tendency to just shut it down. They don't do anything mentally, physically, and then you look at how quickly they expire. For whatever reason, maybe a heart attack, I don't know, maybe some circulatory disease. But, it's like they forget, what got them there. And what got them there was a lot of hard work, effort, energy, enthusiasm, working out all the time.
Well, I can just tell you from example, my dad's 76 and I love him to death. He's never retired. He said, I'm not going to retire because all my friends that retired are bored out of their mind.
Yes, that's it.
Who wants to play golf 7 days a week? And so I am taking my dad's example, and I will always continue to do what I love and continue to do what I love because, God willing, I love to be busy and I love to do stuff just like you. And that's what, you're a walking example. So how was the family reunion this morning?
It was great. Honestly, I mean, you start to realize how much you miss people in your life. I mean, you meet people all the time, every single day at the grocery, at the library, whatever, at work. But you know what? The family's special because, you're related either directly, your brothers, sisters, or maybe you're in marriage, or they're cousins, but you know what? You look at them, you don't look at them the same way as other people, because they're close to you. They got some of the same blood running in them that you've got in you. And, so you always try to give them some extra slack in terms of likability. And, it's fun to find out what their drive is, what their energy is. And, sometimes you develop a tremendous bond and sometimes you don't. And, I've got families both on my side and my wife's side. And some of the people on her side, they're great. They're motivators. They're go-getters. They've achieved things. They've, like I said, many
your wife's brothers, aren't they both doctors?
Yeah, they're both doctors. And like I said, the other one is a professor at the University of Oregon. And, and like I said, their parents were a nurse in school and their dad was a pipe fitter, uses hands all the time. I think they're a perfect example of, what you can do in America. It isn't always about your father dictates what you do, because certainly these young men, got to college and said, no, it's not like you figure out the last year, oh, I want to be a doctor. No, these guys went to college with that in mind, so because of, I think, seeing their mother come home every day, the work that she did, the stories that she told. And I just think sometimes, our parents have a responsibility to share with us stories and experiences that will change our lives. And I know my wife's mother and father, or did know them, and you know what? They were dynamic people. When they spoke, it wasn't like you said, yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I've done that. They told you a story or an example, and when they were done, you're like in awe. Like, I can't believe you just told me that story. It's like this rush of emotion through you, either liking it or disliking it. But, they were storytellers. And I think that's what created this whole drive in their family for excellence, every one of them. And not everybody was a doctor, but, my wife, she was a.
Your wife's amazing. And she had to just deal with you.
You know what? I give her a hard time. I have to admit, yeah. Every day.
Your wife is amazing. Still to this day, she's amazing. But she had to put up with you and take care of you. That was like better than being a doctor.
Yeah, I haven't given her too many days off.
No, she's never had a day off.
You know what, though? If we're challenged every day, I mean, think about somebody walking behind you, though, and everything you did all day or when you were younger. They said, no, don't do that. Do this over here. That's a dead end. Come on over here. This is going to make something out of you. If everybody would have had a voice like that, how much better this whole world would be, because nobody would be going down the wrong road. Everybody would be going, okay, I know this isn't what I want to do. And that's really what it is. We as individuals, we do what we want to do. And especially when we're younger persons. And, you and I talked about this before. There's certain stages in life, Megan, where you just have to make a decision. You can't just say for the next year, 2, 3, 4 years, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm just going to play like I'm a dummy and I don't know anything. And I'm just going to get up every day and eat 3 meals a day and go home and go to bed every night. But you know what? You have to stand up and be accounted for and say, you know what? That is the direction I want to go. That is the education. That's how I want to figure it out. Do I have to borrow? Do I have the money? Or it might not even be that. It might be going into the military or something like that. Some career that you think you want to do. I just think too many people just let too much time go by, and then it's too late. It's way too late. And
well, I just want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to all of the spouses out there, whatever gender, but spouses out there that support their partner to be successful, because I think it really, right. and you just said it, you just said it. She's always been with you, behind you, to support you and lift you up and to say, go for it, make it happen. And that is like a gift that I wish everybody had, because that gift is a really great gift, to have that partner with you that's always with you to support you and help you.
Because a lot of times, don't you think you've been in life a lot of times where we're thinking about a decision, am I going to do it or not do it? And you really, what would sway you would just be one person close to you saying yes or no.
Correct.
Because it's happened to me in my life.
100%.
Should I do this? Should I not do this? And somebody who I trusted came up and said yes or no. And I followed their lead. And do I know whether it was the right decision or not? I don't know. Most times I did. Sometimes I wouldn't have known sometimes everything's immediate. It's like sometimes you don't want to, go speeding down the road in a snowstorm 100 miles an hour because you're probably going to lose traction and get in a wreck. That's immediate. But, there's other decisions you make. You don't even realize it until maybe 5, 10, 20 years down the road. You're going, I made a wrong decision back in 1968 or whatever year it was. I love talking to these people that,
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? And I felt this way, Megan. If I wasn't even born yet and you're telling me this story, I go, stop right there.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not, I'm just laughing because I'm like thinking of the years and I'm like, I wasn't even born.
Well, that's honestly, I go, I don't really need to know about your story because I wasn't born and it has no impact on me. No, because the world has changed. Tell me something that was going to benefit me, something that I can gain from information from.
All right, okay, so here's the thing. I want your 2 cents on the Super Bowl because I'm in LA. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was pretty super. Here's one thing I thought though. I thought, and I'm not trying to be critical, but when you watch the game as a player, former player, coach, and analyst, radio analyst, you're looking at that game film, and there's one thing I just think the officials, I think they didn't call the same game from the first quarter through the fourth quarter. I thought that they were so much more inclined to want to call penalties, kind of like the majority of the games this year in the NFL. The first half I thought was fantastic. They were letting everybody play. All these big plays were happening, yards down the field, catches, all these things. And then what they started doing was they started calling penalties. And the same plays in the first half would have been called penalties in the second half. And I think when you're an official, you can't do that in a game because all the players now are geared into what you are as an official and what you're going to call. And I told you this before, scouting reports are for everybody, not just the other team. We got scouting reports on the officials each week and, found out what they called and how close they were. So we studied them.
That's something I never would have known. So we
studied them also.
So you as a coach, you got reports on how the referees and those.
Exactly.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And their name, where they were. Here's the other thing I always like to do when I was coaching. I always like to go up there and try to talk to them before the game. Even if they didn't want to talk to me, I knew their names because I just got the MO on them. I found out whether they called little petty things or whether you almost had to kill somebody. That's all right. You were really had to be violent to get a penalty. And just go before the game, go, hey, Bob, hey, Steve, how you doing over there? Hey, Bill, how's your mother, wife, all this kind of stuff. I don't care. Maybe they're thinking, hey, listen, you're not going to get into my cage that's around me. This is before the game. You can't talk to me, but just ask them questions. When someone asks you questions, Megan, don't you think like something like how's your mother, how's your wife, how's your father, whatever, how's your brother? It changes things. You know what I'm saying? You're like, wow, this guy's done his homework. He knows who I am. And I don't think many of them, I'm sure some of them know that, the guys are out there breaking them down, that they're finding out exactly what they call, what they like to call, and what degree they'll call it. Some officials basically, if you just tap each other, Megan, I'm sorry, they're going to call penalties. Really, of no consequence at all. Most officials that I knew, something had to go down that was pretty bad. You could get away with a few swear words in the game without being called, but technically they could go throw that personal foul, flag for saying something, doing something, getting in the way of somebody, that's of a personal nature. You're attacking him verbally. And so, that's one thing in life I learned, it's good to maintain your temper and control your emotions because it doesn't work in football and it sure as heck doesn't work in life. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned.
The only experience I have, and it's nothing even 0.1% close to what you've done, is refereeing my son's soccer game. And that was very emotional with 8th grade parents.
Wow.
Beverly Hills.
You know what? It's so tough. I've never.
I
well,
definitely
think
would not. I would not want that. I would not want to be in that space at the level that you're at, because it was just, even at an 8th grade level in Beverly Hills, it was intense with parents screaming and yelling about the calls.
It really was. You know what? And it's amazing how easy it is to get emotionally involved in a game, even if you're kind of remotely, connected to it. There's nobody that you actually know that's in your family or whatever. You're just watching this game, and you may have your team you're cheering for. You all of a sudden become like a super fan, and you're yelling and screaming at the official. And I don't know, maybe it could go both ways in terms of what the play was, but you're always doing it for your team, and and you even get emotional. I know people that are very inclined to strike other people, even other family members. Some of them have a tendency to want to slap, or whatever, to try to get some sort of attention and a reaction. And so it's amazing how calm you have to be. You just take a deep breath. And we had players on our team that were exactly the same way. And when they went off, Megan, it was like a switch. It was a power switch. You're not getting that switch turned back off again. It won't go off for like 5 minutes. This person is so off his rocker, his common sense, that, he may hit somebody. He may hit an official or another player or something like that. And that's what I love about football more than some of the other sports. It's so physical. You have to play a certain type of game, but you have to maintain control of your emotions and your actions, no matter what happens in a game, because you're going to only seriously hurt your football team.
Well, the bottom line is, it was a great game, and I think both teams did
great game.
And I think that
yes.
The fact that they're both winners, only one won, but the point is they were both there. It was spectacular. They both did a great job, and it was a great event, like we talked about the last time. It's a holiday for the USA, Super Bowl, and so it's always good to be with family and friends. And
right.
I wanted to tell you, Tempe was wonderful last weekend when we were there. It was
good. It
was great. And I look forward again to seeing you next time. And we're going to stay on schedule.
Okay. You got to stay on, because you know what? People expect, even in life, every single thing you do, you need to do it over and over and over again. And you need to be on time. I have had coaches. Yeah, just that.
That's what I'm saying. So Doug and I are committing to Saturdays. We're going to be on schedule on Saturdays, and we're making up. We have a surprise, because we're going to do some videos behind the scenes and have surprises for you guys for other podcasts. So anyways, we're going to stay on task now that, football season's over. Doug's home. He's not traveling other than for family events and speaking events. So we'll be here, which I'm really looking forward to, because I love talking to you, Doug, on Saturdays.
Well, thank you, Megan. And likewise, I think there's so many things out there that we can discuss that are just really relevant with everybody in this country. And we're seeing it on a day-to-day basis right now, things that are going to impact us in our lives.
All right. Well, you have a spectacular weekend, Doug, and I will see you next Saturday.
Thanks, Megan. Great seeing you.
All right. I'll see you later. Bye.